Attention passionate Washington Commanders fans. Latest news, something big is happening in the NFC East and it could change the game. We're talking about a direct impact on Washington Commanders' path to another Super Bowl run, a power shift that could leave a division rival stumbling for years. We're bringing this to you firsthand. But before that, if you're a true Washington Commanders fan, subscribe to the channel to strengthen this passion even more. Show that you're also part of this family. Let's help each other reach 1,000 subscribers. Share with YOURFRINDS and Washington Commanders FANS. Let's get to the news now, folks. What if I told you that the NFL landscape might be shifting in a way that could redefine the NFC East? That the Washington Commanders, yes, the team that's been on the rise, could be on the verge of making a blockbuster move that might finally put them in a position to challenge the Giants, the Eagles, and the Cowboys. Well, that's exactly what's being whispered around the league right now, and it involves none other than the recent buzz about Christian McCaffrey potentially heading to Washington. That's right, imagine McCaffrey, one of the most dynamic, versatile running backs in the NFL, donning the burgundy and gold. It might sound like a fantasy, but the rumors are heating up, and trust me, this could be a game changer, not just for the Commanders, but for the entire division. Let's take a step back for a moment and reflect on the current state of the NFC East. The division has been fiercely competitive over the past few seasons, with the Eagles establishing themselves as a powerhouse, especially after their Super Bowl appearance in 2023. The Cowboys, always a thorn in everyone's side, have been hovering around the playoff picture, and the Giants, well, they're trying to rebuild and find consistency after some tumultuous years. But Washington, they've been quietly building, making smart moves, and focusing on developing their young talent. And now, with the right pieces, they could leapfrog into serious contention. That's why this potential trade involving McCaffrey is so intriguing. It's not just about adding a star, it's about shifting the entire balance of power in the NFC East. Now, let's get into the specifics. There's been some buzz about a hypothetical trade that would send Christian McCaffrey from the San Francisco 49ers to the Washington Commanders. And honestly, it makes a lot of sense when you analyze the current landscape of both teams. The trade details. Well, it's rumored that Washington could send a 2026 third-round pick, a 2026 fifth-round pick, and a 2027 fourth-round pick to San Francisco in exchange for McCaffrey. On paper, that's a pretty fair deal. Why? Because the Commanders get a player who, when healthy, is arguably one of the most explosive offensive weapons in the league. And let's be honest, who wouldn't want a game-changer like McCaffrey to pair with their young quarterback, Jaden Daniels? Think about it. McCaffrey is still only 29 years old, and despite some injury concerns earlier in his career, he's shown last season that when he's fully healthy, he can do things that most running backs can only dream of. In 2023, he ran for 459 yards and scored 14 rushing touchdowns. On top of that, he caught 83 passes for 564 yards. That's the kind of production that can completely transform an offense. The Commanders, with their solid offensive line and a young quarterback like Daniels, could really maximize his talents. And let's not forget, adding McCaffrey to a backfield that already features Brian Robinson Jr. would give Washington a dual threat that defenses would find almost impossible to stop. But why would the 49ers consider a trade like this? Well, that's the interesting part. The 49ers over the last few years have built a team that's been championship caliber, but the 2024 season was a bit of a wake-up call. They finished with a 6-11 record, which was surprising given their recent dominance, and there's a growing sense that San Francisco might be heading into a bit of a rebuild phase. With players like Deebo Samuel, who's no longer the same explosive weapon he once was, being traded away, and Brandon Ayuk suffering a torn ACL and MCL last season, the team's depth has taken a hit. Plus, McCaffrey, with his injury history, becomes a trade asset that could bring in valuable draft capital. And honestly, for a team looking to reload for the future, acquiring multiple draft picks like a 2026 third-rounder, a 2026 fifth-rounder, and a 2027 fourth-rounder could be a smart move. Now, some fans might wonder, is this really worth it for the 49ers? And that's a valid question, but if we look at the bigger picture, it's about strategic planning. The 49ers might be thinking, let's get ahead of the curve, especially if they believe that their window to contend is closing or that they need to rebuild some areas of the roster. And in doing so, they're not throwing away their chances. The NFL is a league where timing is everything. If McCaffrey stays healthy, this trade could turn out to be an absolute steal for San Francisco. But if injuries strike again, well, then perhaps the draft picks could turn into future stars. For the Commanders, though, this is a golden opportunity. With McCaffrey on board, their offense could become one of the most potent in the league. The addition of a player like him would alleviate some of the pressure off Jaden Daniels and give him a true weapon in the backfield and out of the backfield. It's almost like adding a Swiss Army knife. McCaffrey can run between the tackles, catch passes out of the backfield, and even line up in the slot. His versatility would unlock a lot of possibilities for the Commanders' offensive scheme. And speaking of the team's outlook, this move could elevate Washington from a solid team into a serious contender. Right now, the odds are somewhat in their favor. According to betting odds, the Commanders are sitting at plus 1900 to win the Super Bowl in 2026. They're slightly behind the Eagles and Cowboys, but with the right pieces, they could leap ahead. Adding McCaffrey would likely push their Super Bowl odds closer to plus 1,000, tying them with teams like the Detroit Lions and bringing them into the conversation with more established contenders like the Kansas City Chiefs, who currently sit at plus 700. It's important to recognize that the NFL is a league of opportunity and timing. The Commanders have a young, talented core, especially with Jaden Daniels developing rapidly. If they can build around him, adding a star like McCaffrey would be a huge step forward. It's not just about making the playoffs, it's about making a statement. It's about saying we're here to compete and we're not afraid to make bold moves. That's exactly the kind of mentality that could push Washington over the edge and into serious Super Bowl contention. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking, but what about the age and injury concerns? And those are valid considerations. McCaffrey is indeed 29 and has had his share of injuries. But if he can stay healthy, the potential reward far outweighs the risk. Plus, the draft picks the 49ers could get in return are valuable assets for their future rebuild. For Washington, though, it's about seizing this opportunity now because a player of McCaffrey's caliber doesn't come around every day. In conclusion, while there's no official confirmation yet about the trade happening, the logical case for it is compelling. Both teams could benefit enormously. The 49ers could reload with draft capital, and the Commanders would add a game-changing player to their roster. This kind of move could alter the entire narrative of the NFC East and set Washington up for sustained success in the coming seasons. So, as fans, we should keep a close eye on how this develops because it's one of those rare situations where everything just might click. Pause here just for a second. If you want the YOUTUB algorithm to keep recommending the latest Washington Commanders news to you, it's super important that you leave a like on this video. Go ahead, it's quick and it makes a big difference. Thank you. Now let us continue with the big reveal. And now, Washington Commanders fans, I want to hear from you. What's your take on all this? Do you believe a trade for Christian McCaffrey makes sense? Would you like to see him in burgundy and gold? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Your opinion matters so much to us and to the future of the Commanders. Remember, I'll be back soon with even more updates, so stay tuned for the latest Washington Commanders news. We're on the cusp of what could be a transformative season, and I can't wait to see how it all unfolds. Thanks for sticking with me, and as always, go Commanders.